We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Thursday, October 14th, 2021. This will be the only class session this week. On Tuesday, there were some connectivity problems with Blackboard, but I wanted to take some time at the outset to remind you of a couple of things. Tuesday of next week, assignment 10, listening posts, is going to be due. We're also in a moment going to be going back showing you the 20 assignments before we get to the final on visual journalism, which will be due at some point during final exam week, keeping in mind that between now and Thanksgiving break, we have approximately 12 class sessions, with assignment 10, listening posts, being due on Tuesday of next week. That gives us a little bit of flexibility to get through a number of assignments. Realistically, by the time we leave for Thanksgiving break, we should be through at least assignment 18 or 19. When we return, it will be assignment 20, the wild card, and also examining topics for that visual journalism final project. So without any further ado, let's go to Google Drive and remind you of upcoming projects before we do some research into assignment 10 listening posts and looking at your particular updates on the news blogs. So here we have all of the listings of projects. Listening posts in campus or community. I have 4 different projects that were produced in the fall of 2020. I also have one from Colby Clinton dating to fall of 2018. A listening post can be where you're getting information on campus, where you commiserate with your friends. It could be in the community. What do your parents do for a living? Where do they talk about different types of news-related events? Then we get into assignment 11. Civics is the study of government. For all of these projects, I will be sending out links either to current information or to what someone has done for a previous project. That leads us into assignment 12, which is numeracy. Taking something from an online source that is numerically based and trying to bring some type of sense of normality to it for the lay audience. Let's say that you found online a spreadsheet from a Southwest Arkansas school district. All of the money that may be allocated to salaries, or money that's set aside for school bus repair, or anything regarding maintenance, but it's all numerically based, and you have to try to make some type of sense of that for the audience. Then we get into assignment 13. I really think it's important in all of my classes to have some type of global element. There we have international hard or feature news. Assignment 14, at the time, on the social media platform of your choice, what is trending on social media? With civics, numeracy, international hard or feature news, trending on social media, and assignment 15, something in either entertainment or pop culture in the United States or around the world. These are going to be written as stories. As we continue on, thinking about that interactive component from a blog perspective, does it look good and professional on both your computer and on your phone? And then I think it's really important for a class like this that we give you the opportunity to talk about opinions. Most of the time, if you're doing it properly, you're going to be writing in more of a just the facts set of circumstances. Opinion on a local issue, assignment 16, or opinion state, national, or international issue, assignment 17, gives you the opportunity to take off your impartial hat. Is there something that you really feel strongly about locally? Is there something that you find on a state, national, or international basis that you would like to talk about from those perspectives? And that brings us to the final three projects. And here is where we're going to be right around Thanksgiving break. News app critique. You're using your phones all the time. Have you found any type of news app that really helps you stay informed? Conversely, is there a news app that you do not like or think needs some constructive criticism in making it more effective? I think in all of my classes that involve blogs, it is relevant and important that you have the opportunity to do a deep dive into a classmate or classmate's work that you think is particularly interesting. That's why we always include assignment 19. You can take screenshots, anything that you think is important from one or two of your classmates currently that you really like the quality of their work, the design of their website, the creativity of their blogs, or anything about it that you think is noteworthy. Then we get to assignment 20, the wild card, and that can be anything that you want. So just looking at that list for the time being, thinking that one assignment at a time, one class period at a time. Thanksgiving is going to be right around the corner. My guess is we're going to be someplace in the area of, at minimum, assignment 18. We'll play it by ear. Now, for anyone who had to change their blog address, and I think there are at least 2 or 3 people in here who have done so, please make sure that you provide me with that link within a reasonably quick time frame so I can go ahead and make certain that this link for all of your work is accurate. This is a sophomore level course. Midterm grades are due next week. In my case, the only course where midterm grades are required is MCOM 1003, Introduction to Mass Communication. This course does not have midterm grades. However, timeliness matters. If you get really far behind, will I accept the projects? Yes, but at the same time, timeliness is going to matter, and that will come into play when I'm considering your grade. If I ask anyone in here during a video to make a change and at the end of the semester it has not been made, then obviously that's going to be reflective of your grades as well. Keeping in mind that when you scroll down, now I'm doing this on Google Drive, all of the videos that we have been producing so far on Blackboard Collaborate Ultra are here, with the first one, video A, August 31st, to the last one that we did. This is Carlin's website. The video screen grabs are from Google Drive, not from me. Video K, which was October 7, 1 week ago today. They are alphabetized, so they stay in chronological order from video A, August 31, all the way down to video K, which is October 7. And a friendly reminder that when you go to my website, this is what you are going to see. I've shown this to you before because some of you occasionally will have difficulty accessing the videos on Blackboard. When you're at my website, that's what it looks like, with video A right here, and then all the way down to what we have with video K. Same thing, different location. But it's really in your best interest whenever you are examining those videos to scroll through, watch them all. I try to, as much as possible, give you positive, constructive criticism, because as much as the reporting and the writing are important elements of this course, so is the editing, whether it be for the headlines for a particular project, the way in which you're putting together a lead sentence, how you are paragraphing, how it looks on your cell phones as opposed to how it looks on your computers. Before we examine where you're at with public records, because of course now we're going to be getting into listing posts next week, I want to show you examples of 5 different listing post projects, 4 from the fall semester of 2020 and 1 from the fall semester of 2018. Where did these students get together with classmates on campus to talk about news, public affairs that they found particularly interesting? The first one we're going to be looking at from last year is Carly Hale. I already have her website up on the screen. And let's break this down. She's got 2 different generic graphics, and that's okay. She's got a word wrap here, and you'll notice it's not particularly long, but that's okay. She's got it broken into 1, 2, 3, 4 different paragraphs. Let's take a look. Now, I may have spoken too quickly because that graphic looks very much like Panda Express on campus. I can't say that for sure. Maybe it's because we all like Chinese food, but it certainly looks that way. But in any event, quote, "Where we get information says a lot about who we are. The conversations we have with friends or family, the news channel we listen to, or the gossip we hear in the school's cafeteria. Our beliefs, opinions, and the way in which we process information derives mostly from what we listen to." Now, let's break down the lead sentences for each paragraph. In today's world, our ears aren't the only source for hearing information. Next lead sentence to a paragraph, quote, "Highly populated areas like SAU's cafeteria carry a mighty voice as a listening post. There are lots of people speaking about different things, and so the information gets circulated." Next lead sentence to a paragraph, quote, "As iron sharpens iron, one friend sharpens another." So she's using a Bible verse to lead off the final paragraph. In the same way listening posts have this effect on us, we become who we are based on what we listen to, even if our listening is only through our eyes and we never heard a sound at all. So in her case, she's getting a lot of information from her friends, from, as she says in her 3rd paragraph, highly populated areas like SAU's cafeteria. Now let's examine her blog. If I go up to the top, click on her name, that is her final project from last year, keeping in mind that we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. Your assignment 20 is going to be the wild card. But let's scroll from assignment 20 down on her blog to assignment 10, the listing post. There's the classmate blog critique, the news app critique. All of these have read more, opinion national, opinion local, entertainment, trending on social media, international feature news. She chose that over hard news, numeracy, civics, listing posts. And that's what it looks like before we get to read more. I'm going to show you what their blogs look like because I want all of you, as we get into assignments 10 through 17 or 18 before Thanksgiving break, really focusing more and more on the style of your blogs, what they look like, how professional are they going to appear, as I indicated at the outset, both on your computer and on your phone. The second website that we're going to examine a listing post for a student from last year is Sydney Waiter. This is her website. Listing posts everywhere around you. She decides to have a subhead. Whatever works best for you is appropriate here. You'll notice that she's got a larger font style and she's going left flush for the paragraphs. I like this because it is going to be easily readable on a cell phone. When thinking about listing posts, I think of anywhere or way that you can gather information. Living on a college campus makes for a broad range of listing posts. Being a student athlete, I gain a lot of information from my fellow teammates and friends. Our teammate is very diverse, as we have many girls from different cultures: Hawaiian, Hispanic, and Samoan. Also looking into some of the student-run blogs that we have access to through the university. I mainly get my information through my friends, teammates, and fellow students for my listing post. Notice that a number of the teammates have taken a photo in front of one of the houses that have been recently located on the other side of the university near the rental center parking lot. So that's one graphic. And there's another. The social media ambassadors: Hunter Bird, marketing major; Colby Clinton, mass comm major; Lindsay O'Neill, mass comm major. They have both since graduated with their mass communication degrees. Now let's take a look at some of the lead sentences of the paragraphs for the listing posts. I spend almost every single afternoon with my teammates, and we are constantly talking about things going on around the world. We discuss politics and the recent protests against racial justice. Now, I encourage you to read all of these in their entirety to give you a flavor or a feel as to where you might go. I've talked in previous class sessions, now and in other years, about the fact that my father was a farmer in central Illinois. A popular listening post in his case were small cafes where farmers would go in, have a cup of coffee, talk about farm prices, talk about the weather. Another lead sentence, quote, I also love reading the blogs by students on campus here at SAU. We actually have multiple fellow classmates who help run the student blogs, and she provides a link to study tips for midterms. When it comes down to it, the definition of listening post varies with each person. We may not realize it, but our environment and people around us provide us with different information. Listening posts are constantly evolving, and I'm sure, like most people, listening posts are reliant on people they talk to or who they are around in their day-to-day lives. I could share this on a variety of platforms or go back up to the top. Again, easily readable, quality graphics. Where are you or your friends talking about certain types of issues? Sydney was hanging around with her fellow softball players. Now let's do the same thing with Sydney as we just did with Carly. Let's start with assignment 20, which last year was visual journalism. For you, it will be wild card. Notice the design consistency all the way through. She does a slight indentation for her first paragraph, at least the way it looks on the blogs. Then we can go to more posts, like Carly. There is her international hard or feature news, and she got it from Africa. Numeracy, she decided to tackle COVID-19. The numbers are staggering in terms of the number of deaths in the United States and those infected, and those are what we know. The numbers for fatalities and those infected are probably much higher than the official stats. Civics, what we'll be doing next week, and then listing posts, and it goes on. Clicking on her name, that is what we see for visual journalism. So those are 2 out of 4 fall 2020 examples of listing posts. Number 3 is Mackenzie Turner. Like Sydney, student athlete. Sydney on the softball team. Mackenzie, golf. Mackenzie decided to stick with the award-winning mountain landscape motif, which last year was okay to use. I've already clicked onto her assignment. She's got 1, 2, different generic graphics for listing posts. I think it's helpful, even if it's generic, to provide some type of visual. Look at how blue this is. Now, blue indicates interactivity. First paragraph, quote, upon taking a dive into this assignment, I realized I had absolutely no idea of what a listing post is, or that colleges even had them. Makes me feel extremely unaware of my surroundings as a third-year college student. However, if I didn't know about it, maybe you don't either. A listing post, as described by the University of Denver, is a place where folks come to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And will the link open in this window? It does. And that is the University of Denver. The listing post is a place where folks come to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And that would involve your friends as well. Now let's go back to the blog. Well, if you ask me, practically anywhere on a college campus can be a listing post. And that's why I include Colby Clinton from fall of 2018, because he's got a really interesting take on listing posts. Lead sentences to paragraph, quote, while you may think that a listing post just seems like a traditional counseling center, you're wrong. A listing post is simply a place for unhurried conversation to be heard and accepted, to clarify thinking. And like I said with my dad, people are just going to sit around and talk about news. And here is another link from Sydney's blog. The listing post is a listening model. And if you want to use it from that perspective, it's okay. But where do you and your friends hang out and just shoot the breeze? While this is how listening posts are defined and how schools like the University of Denver and Towson do things, a listening post can truly be anywhere, and that is correct. Some colleges, final paragraph now, offer a counseling center. Some offer pop-up sitting posts, but the definition truly lies within your own needs. If your friends are listening to you rant on a Saturday night, that's a listening post. If the lunch lady is listening to you about your bad day, that's a listening post. If your coach lets you sit to the side and tell them about your troubles at home, that is your listening post. While there are definitions for everything, some things just have to be defined on your own. So now I ask you, where is your listing post? Then when we click on Mackenzie's name, here we can see, as with Carly, as with Sydney, she's got consistency all the way through with her projects. Now it looks a little bit different in the way the assignments are described, but going all the way down to assignment 10 listing posts, there is something in terms of the quality of the blog and the projects that cry out professionalism. And you can see her visual journalism project sticking out there from the top. Now that brings us to the fourth and final fall 2020 example of listing post. Where do you and your friends hang out? Where do you get information? Where do you talk about just about anything? Because that is, in a certain way, how you can determine the relevancy of current news and information. Because oftentimes what may be in a newspaper or on a website may not necessarily be what people are talking about. That brings us to our final 2020 blog, which is Prince Udenze. And Prince, many of you have had classes with Prince. The quality of his analytical perspective has, like many of you, jumped leaps and bounds since his freshman year. So this is what Prince's website looks like, and you can see his SAU uniform is there for his profile in football. What is a listing post? And he's got one graphic. First paragraph, gossip is something that has been around for years and years. Over the years, it has evolved though, but the premise is still the same. One person tells another, then they tell another, and so on and so forth. Sometimes water cooler talk or locker room talk. I really like the way he describes this, water cooler talk. That's certainly acceptable, even though I've been on the SAU campus for years, and I have never seen a water cooler where they bring in the big jugs of water. I guess it's somewhere on campus with the little paper cups. I've never seen them. The information keeps flowing. Sometimes the information does get misunderstood through the transference of information implied there. That is what I think is more gossip. But because most of the time gossip and rumors are only partly true. Now let's take a look at his lead paragraph sentences. Quote, another way information gets around these days are group messages, kind of like the electronic version of a listing post. Now, I would say this. You may be doing a little bit of that during a pandemic, but what I really want to know for a listing post is physically, where do you and your friends go to talk and what do you talk about? And if it's gossip, that's certainly acceptable. But I'm guessing it's not everything that you discuss. So, final paragraph, among others, quote, I think listing posts are a big deal in college, especially with so many places people can gather and talk. Library, cafe, dormitory lobbies, activity center, etc. By design, there's plenty of spaces to gather and converse. This is where students get a lot of their information, especially with a smaller university like Southern Arkansas. You see a lot of the same people. Feels like home. Now, that's the marketing strategy of SAU. I've said in many of my classes that oversized chair with the SAU logo in front of one of the entrances to the rental center, it feels to me not only like home, but it reminds me of when you're walking into a Cracker Barrel with all of those rocking chairs out in front. Listing posts can almost be more than school information. It can be talking about individuals' personal lives. It really brought us together to discuss where we were all from and how we got here. I did not know at the time, but it was really a perfect example of a listing post. And there he's talking about being on the football team, the previous sentence that I skipped over. So he's talking about how being with so many members of the football team from different locations, where I've got the cursor, that it is a listing post. And I think that is an excellent example. So if I click on his name, there we start, as with the others, from assignment 20, the design consistency, all the way down through more posts, through some of the upcoming projects, and leaving it right there at listing posts before scrolling to the top on his name. And when you click on it at the website from fall of 2020, that is what you're going to see. The final listing post I'm going to show you today, before we examine some of your public records projects and where some of you are with your progress on the blogs, is Colby Clinton, fall of 2018. Colby shares a unique perspective, and I wanted to include it because I always remembered the visualization of this when he talked. Because Colby was in the Honors College. And in his listening post critique, he is going to talk about how the Honors College at Southern Arkansas University was a place where he and his friends did a lot of discussion on a variety of different topics. Quote, on a smaller campus like SAU, news can get around quicker than just about any other town or city. The community here is really close-knit, mainly due to all of the events that go on around campus, but also through the unity we all share through the classes we take, the team we support, or the dorm we live in while on a college campus. Now, let's go through a couple of the lead sentences of paragraphs. I get most of my state or national news through social media resources such as Twitter or Facebook. And then he's got all of these links in green that turn blue. He's got a link to NBC Breaking News. He's even got a link to me. And his link goes to my Twitter page. And my Twitter page from his website is opening in a different window. So he's got all of these different links and the unofficial Big Ben account. I get most of my local news through my friends and passersby in my dorm, Honors South. If my friends and I aren't in the blue and gold cafeteria for lunch or dinner, we're hanging out in the third floor lobby of Honors, probably playing Guitar Hero, Settlers of Catan, or I don't know what that is, or just talking about our days. We're usually in the lobby till the early morning hours, around 2 or 3 in the morning. Of course, if it's a weekend, we'll be in the lobby till way past 5, later than that to get to Shipley's Donuts the next morning when they open at 5. We all have our priorities. Shipley's Donuts for Honors College students is apparently one of those priorities. I have a very diverse group of friends with varying backgrounds, occupations, political beliefs, and majors, so it's very easy to get local news from all over campus with multiple opinions. If news does happen to slip through the cracks by hanging out in the lobby and being friendly with essentially everyone in the honors dorm, any news that comes through the dorm will make it to the ears of one of us. Now, that is one sentence for a paragraph, and it's certainly acceptable. News is important, whether local, state, national, or international. Build a listening post. So again, there's the Honors College. He and his friends hang out in one area, I believe on the third floor. And all of those states that are in red, states highlighted in red indicate the home state of a friend in my friend group. So he's getting a wide variety of diverse opinions in his Honors College listening post activity. When you look at his website and just click on his name, and we'll do the same thing with him as everyone else, starting with the visual journalism final, which was a final up until last year. Now we get to assignment 20. Wild card, classmate blog critique. Notice the design consistency. The interactivity is going to be in green. Opinion. Look at the interactivity that he's providing with tweets. If you want to do that, you can. Make it as creative visually as possible. Another opinion. Entertainment or popular culture. Trending on social media, including Magic the Gathering. Really making it as visually diverse as possible. International, harder feature story, numeracy, that's a screen grab. And then we go to older posts and eventually get through civics and what we just looked at with listing posts. So with the 4 examples of listing posts from fall 2020 and the one that we just saw from fall of 2018, we can see where those students are going on campus and who they're talking to for news and information. Listening posts are crucial for news professionals. Where do people hang out? Where do your friends hang out? Where do your family members hang out? Where do your parents, in those 2 cases, where are they going to hang out for news and information? That is something that I think needs to be considered more and more by news professionals from online and traditional sources. So before we get to your blogs, a friendly reminder. When you are at Google Drive, upcoming projects, all of the websites, as you can see, going back to what we were examining at the beginning of class with the assignments. Now let's talk about this for a moment. Assignment 10, listing posts, campus or community, that will be due on Tuesday of next week. Assignment 7, civics, the study of government. We'll do some research on that in class on Tuesday of next week, and that will be due Thursday. So assignment 10 next week, due Tuesday. Assignment 11, civics, due at class time on Thursday. And that's basically the way we'll be working, because with roughly 12 class sessions between now and Thanksgiving break, we'll get through most of these projects. So that brings us to what you're currently working on. I don't have everyone's website up because, again, a couple of the URLs need to be sent to me to make sure that I have the exact address. These are not exactly in alphabetical order. Lauren is what we're going to be starting with. And she is at assignment 9, public records on the national basis. Not everyone is at assignment 9, but I would like you within a reasonably quick time frame to get caught up by class time on Tuesday of next week, giving you 5 days to work on previous projects. In Lauren's case, she's looking at Gabby Petito. Here is the read more, and I will let that format. Look at the way that Lauren has her website set up, and then continue into the text. If you had access to the internet for the past couple of months, there is a very big chance that you heard about the Gabby Petito case. And then she provides a link to the timeline, which is opening in this window. Now, when you go to CNN, usually it's going to turn into a video. So let's let this play.
We are here. The future. We made it. Maybe not quite perfectly envisioned, but here's the thing. The future is forward movement from the now.
I'm going to mute that. Unfortunately, with Ultra, whenever you play these videos back, at least on my computer, I'm getting an echo with the audio. And I don't know if any of you have had that issue, but I've got really nice professional speakers, and I'm getting an echo when I play these videos back. That is Frederica Whitfield, one of the anchors for CNN. And let's go back to the beginning of this and take off the mute.
Wyoming tells, and new information on the path of Brian Landry, who was last seen, or was the last person rather seen with Gabby Petito. A driver who gave Landry a ride in Wyoming tells CNN that she picked up Landry as a hitchhiker on August 29th in the early evening. This driver gave Landry a ride to the same camping area where Gabby Petito's body remains were later found. CNN's Nadia Romero joining us now from Venice, Florida. Nadia, bring us up to date.
Well, that story that you just told, Frederica, about that second person now saying that they picked up Brian Laundrie hitchhiking, it gives a second person to that same story. So we heard someone else talk about picking up Brian Laundrie around that same area where they found the body of Gabby Petito. So now you have two people that are putting him where her body was found. That's really important as we try to piece together a timeline. Now that's happening out in Wyoming. Here in Florida, we're outside of a nature preserve where Brian Laundrie's family says he was supposed to come here last week on Tuesday, and they haven't seen or heard from him since. That's what his parents tell us. And we're going to take this shot now, overhead look of the search efforts that are happening today and throughout this weekend. Now, police say that they're going to be out looking for Brian over the 25,000 acres that makes up this preserve. And take a listen to what one commander from the Northport Police Department said about those search efforts.
There are many, many more resources we're deploying in here other than the search efforts that we're seeing here today. We have investigative means, we have other technology. Agencies are issuing search warrants for data. We're not wasting our time out here. We are doing our due diligence to find Brian in an area that intelligence had led us that he could possibly be in.
And so you heard the commander there saying we're not wasting our time here, where there's been a lot of chatter, especially on social media, for people who believe that Brian Laundrie's family may be steering investigators in the wrong direction, but they are going to exhaust all of these different resources and options until they're able to track down exactly where he is. Now, tomorrow in Long Island, there will be a service for Gabby Petito. Remember, that's where her family lives, and people will gather there to remember and celebrate her life. But there are still so many unanswered questions.
And from that link, it gives us the opportunity to go directly back into the blog. Now, depending upon the format that you're using, guys, sometimes the links work, sometimes they don't. But for the record, because this is a public record, a lot of the data that we're finding out about Gabby Petito and her boyfriend are coming from public records. So it's important to find out for anyone in this class who doesn't know the Gabby Petito case, play the entire 2 minutes of the video so people will know. The link to the timeline, information available through KSL News Radio, and I believe KSL is Salt Lake City. Supposedly, the records could interfere with enforcement proceedings, and providing them could afford a virtual roadmap through the government's evidence and prematurely reveal the full scope of the evidence that has been obtained to date. And that is a link again from KSL. And there you can see the story that she got the data from. National Park Police stonewalls public records in Gabby Petito case. And that is Dateline September 28. And this is the story. The U.S. National Park Service has denied 2 requests for public records filed by KSL under the Freedom of Information Act. And then there's the story and a photo. And then we go back to the blog. Gabby's body was found September 19th. And we don't know what happened to the boyfriend. We don't know whether or not he's alive. This case is one of very few examples in which it is okay to withhold records to the public. By withholding these files, it could help Laundrie out of hiding. Final paragraph with 1, 2, 3 different links. In totality, I'm quoting, "This case is extensive, and there are a lot of records out there that are public, such as the coroner's autopsy. And the coroner's autopsy indicated that at the time the body was viewed for the autopsy, that the coroner determined that she had been strangled for about 3 to 4 weeks. The search warrant affidavit that I talked about earlier, and eyewitnesses that spoke to the public just a few days before. So that is what Lauren's public records story on a national basis looks like. What have we been doing with everyone's blog so far? Now that is Lauren's most recent assignment. So we take it from assignment 9 and just go to the bottom. And for some reason, Defining News is winding up as number 1. And that may be because she had to reconstruct her blog, because when she first started on Google Blogger, she was 17. And for some reason, over the past 10 days, Google Blogger was wiping away blogs from people that started under the age of 18. So Lauren is doing some really nice reconstruction of the work that she has provided. Now, and the graphic is going to be rather striking, so I apologize for that in advance, but it is part of the public record. We'll go to Carlin next, and then we'll go to Alexis. This is what Carlin's website looks like, keeping in mind that with certain formats, if you've got a small photo, it will get blown up, pixelated when it is on the screen. Here's Carlin's. I muted my audio there because I was stifling a cough, because I've been talking for the better part of 45 minutes. But in this case, Carlin's format, the photo that you're going to see here is a little bit bigger, and then we go to read more, and it reverts to normal size. This is a previous felon who was now sentenced to 6 years in prison because he attempted to steal a car and also allegedly damaging the vehicle in the process. It was reported that a woman called in the incident at 8:20 p.m. on June 6th. They were witnessing Ford trying to steal the car, and that obviously is the photo of him. She said that her husband was going to check out the situation, and this led to Ford being shot in the shoulder and upper chest area. While the officers were looking for Ford, Weaver called to inform them that he was left walking east down US 82 West. Among other things, quote, the deputies found the missing vehicle, a Chevy Avalanche. Sheriff's investigator now on the scene. Now you want to be careful, Carlin, because when you go in here, Chevy Avalanche is AVA, and then down in here it would sheriff. Go back in there and double check the spelling of sheriff because it needs 2 F's. By the end of all of the events, Ford was sentenced to another 3 years for criminal mischief and breaking or entering. So there is what the photo looks like when you take it from the website for law enforcement and it gets blown up otherwise. So this is what Carlin's website looks like right now in reverse chronological order. And I do this intentionally because you want to make sure that there is a consistency all the way through the work that you do. Let's go ahead and refresh the website for Alexis before we click on hers. And I do this with all of your work because I have this set up before class begins. This is what the website for Alexis looks like for Public Records Local. And I will click on the link. And Alexis, I know you're here with us live, so tell us about bankruptcy.
Well, I was going through Magnolia's website, and it was actually the website that you showed us, I believe, not last week, not Tuesday, but the week before that on Thursday. And I was going through that website, and I found this. I couldn't decide on what to click on, but I found different bankruptcies in South Arkansas, and I was like, this is interesting. So I wanted to write about the different people.
And here, as we scroll down, here is the link to Magnolia Reporter, the bankruptcies. And by the way, for something like this, sometimes you're going to be doing some dropping and dragging or a little bit of tweaking, because in this case, you've got a couple of individuals from Ouachita County, and then you've got a couple from Union County. Depending upon the publication that you go to, Alexis, they will give you the assets and the liabilities. The assets meaning how much money that they have on hand, and the liabilities meaning how much that they owe. But when you were looking at this, what was on your short list for a project other than possibly looking at bankruptcies? Anything else?
So I thought about doing marriages, but you said not to do that. So I decided not to do that.
Yeah, marriages is too easy to do. I would probably look at, from other classes, any business incorporation or possibly oil leases or drilling. Anybody who is doing construction, that really fits better under the rubric, or bankruptcies of anything that would be a public records based story. And then in this case, if we like this, we could go ahead and go through any of those particular projects. But in this particular case, I think that pretty much covers it. I'll go ahead and click on your name again. Have you decided yet what you might want to do for public records on a national, state, or international basis?
I have not decided yet. I believe I'll be looking at that tonight.
Okay. And we're good, Alexis. Thank you. So you can go ahead and close your mic. As we've been doing, notice that Alexis has the faded notebook paper style. The bankruptcy, there is the original bankruptcy graphic. And like we saw with Carlin's, it will be pixelated a little bit, but as the projects move on, these graphics get smaller, so it's not really an issue. So here she's got Public Records Local, campus feature news story about SAU, campus crime from West Virginia University, hometown feature news, and I believe that was, let me click on this to make sure that I've got the stats right. Montgomery County Assisted Living, we spent quite a bit of time talking about that a few weeks ago. Assignment 4, hometown hard news, and there, of course, is the link, interstate transportation of a minor from Montgomery County. and it goes on. News leads with story links, breaking news updates over a 24-hour period. Remember the fire blanket for the house, and then her assignment as to what is new. So for any of these, again, just provide the link. For all of you, it's very helpful to watch the videos to see what your classmates are working on in real time, because that's going to assist you not only with the writing, but also from a stylistic perspective. The next one that I'm going to show you, I skipped over a couple of these to get to Alexis. Let's put Joanna on the screen. This is her website. And for some of these, I really try not to look at these intentionally until class. So I'm not certain whether these are works in progress or whether or not they are completed. But it looks here as if we've got campus crime that involves Philander Smith College, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and lots of links that are here. All of these are obviously going to be edited as time goes on throughout the semester. And depending upon your stylistic approach, you're going to have the read more, or in her case, you've got everything cascading down in chronological order. Courtney's website is next. Again, I don't have everyone's website up. I need a couple of clarifications on correct URLs. So this is Courtney's. She's looking at campus crime, and we've looked at this in another class. And then all of the assignments that she did during the month of September. And I believe, yeah, she still needs to clean up the paper shredder, the early 1990s paper shredder style from anything that is dropped and dragged. So again, I've talked about that before, where you want to make sure that that is taken care of. Let's take a look at the website for Seth. I believe he is on Campus Feature News with SAU. Don't know if this is homecoming week, but the feature story is raising $22 million for the fundraising campaign. And there you can see the fundraising campaign. Not sure where that is, maybe in the Alumni Center over by the old walking trail, which leads to the Alumni Center is really the old president's house. But as is indicated at the story, more than $22 million for the Love and Loyalty fundraising campaign has been raised, and the numbers are always in flux. This surpasses the last donation goal by 33%, and the final tally is something that I had heard of in previous emails, 29 million for student enrichment, academic programs, 4.5 million for Mule Rider athletics, 1.6 million toward the leaders of today and tomorrow, and there, opening in the same window, is a link to the story. And you can see he took the photo and incorporated it into the story. And because more and more colleges and universities at the state level are getting fewer and fewer funds from the state, fundraising takes on an added importance. So something like this that was provided by Seth in a campus feature story does come in handy. And you've got feature news, hard news, Twitter news, the way he's got everything set up. And we've talked about a lot of this before. We move on from Seth to Taylor. And in Taylor's case, she is similar to Lauren. She is already at Public Records Assignment 9. and that's what hers looks like. Apparently international in scope. The flag of Scotland, click on read more, and we've got 1, 2, 3 different graphics. So she's being unique in the respect that she is doing an international public relations story. Quote, this is a commonly asked question, but thankfully Google has the answer. Across the pond, our friends in the United Kingdom, Scotland with a link, Google with a link, share this same patriotic enthusiasm about public records access. This devolved government with a link is responsible for the economy, health, education, justice system, and housing of Scotland. One of the ways the government provides to the people is through public records, like in many democracies. The public records in Scotland are available online with a link and in person with a link at the National Records of Scotland office. These records provide organized and detailed accounts of civil registration, the census of Scotland, demography and statistics, family history, and the National Archives and Historical Records with a link. Once again, the National Records of Scotland. While they're available online, their physical location for files remains in Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. And you've got the historical search room, the Dundas search room, and the legal search room. And that looks like that may be just one all-encompassing link. The General Register House, which we saw before, but for the record in reverse order, that is the Register House, a graphic for the National Records of Scotland, and the Scottish flag. Final paragraph in totality, quote, the resources to access Scotland's public records demonstrates the international importance of public records coming down to a local level. Each country is separate in their governments, rules, and overall values, but it's comforting to know that across the world, theirs is the same public encouragement for involvement in the government. And that is what Taylor's story looks like. Very well done. Here from assignment 9 all the way to assignment 1 is what her website looks like, roughly halfway through the term. Once we get through a number of assignments, you'll be clicking on more posts on more than one occasion, all the way down to defining news. If you can't tell, I do like to chronicle your work in real time. And that brings us to Haley's website. Haley, you sent me an email asking me about your progress in the class. I can give you a thumbs up. You're doing very well so far. That saves me sending an email. So this is Haley's website. And of course, I've joked about this on many occasions. On the left-hand side, hi, beautiful people. Now let's get to state public records. You'll notice that for assignment 8 local public records, she had the sex offenders registry with the color coordination, all of that available through the Columbia County Sheriff's Office with a link to the interactive map, and that does open in this window. All of those little colored pins indicate sex offenders in Columbia County, red being the most serious, level 4, yellow level 3, level 2 green, level 1 white, non-assessed in blue. And again, Haley, it's very helpful for you to provide that for individuals who would want to know. Clicking back on your name, getting to state records. Now keep in mind, I can click on the name or click on read more. I'll go to read more. And she's looking at Little Rock with 1, 2, 3, 4 different graphics. The state of Arkansas is known to be a very rural place in some areas, but it's also very well known by its busy capital, Little Rock. And of course, as you well know, Little Rock is busy right now because of all of the highway construction taking place. In recent years, the crime in the city of Little Rock has been on an uphill climb. Arkansas's capital is quickly moving towards surpassing its most deadly year on record. Public records obtained by Channel 4 in Little Rock, KARK, which is the NBC affiliate, show an increase in homicides, and here is the link to KARK News. And you can see that right now, breaking news, North Little Rock High School on lockdown after student shot off campus. And here you have lockdown at North Little Rock High School lifted, all safe, and that is a crime story. Now let's go back to the blog. An increase in homicides, first-degree battery, terroristic acts over the past 5 years. That graphic is what was obtained in very small print, but that's okay, Haley, from Channel 4 News in Little Rock. Homicides, first-degree battery cases increased. Again, those are the statistics. The rise in crime in Little Rock. Now remember, there's no comma in between Little Rock, so you want to go back in and clean that up. Trends are showing that the capital is on track to see around 70 or more deaths. And you'll notice what she did here is to incorporate a quote from the Little Rock Police Department. Further information is available from the KARK news site, and that's where we were just a moment ago. But for the record, here we've got apparently a news story which will format directly behind the Walmart ad. So let's go ahead and see what this is after we have the obligatory advertisement. We have a couple of more websites to look at, but we'll get to those. We'll do brief examinations of those as we get toward the end of class. I'll be going in real time until about 3:30.
There's a lot of gun rights. When the police came, they actually pulled out a 44 Slug.
Some in Little Rock frustrated, exhausted, and left questioning their own safety after a streak of shootings. Violent crime is up 30% over the last 5 years in the city.
Data we're uncovering is showing more than 300 people have been shot, stabbed, or seriously injured by another person in 2021. The number of people shot at even higher. KRK4's Mitch McCoy diving into the numbers to show violence is far-reaching.
Yeah, hello. So far this year, 50 people have been killed in the capital city. That number set to exceed last year's number, and we're already on par with passing 2017's number as well, making it the most violent year in the capital city in the last decade. The sound of gunfire stretches to every corner, risking everything from businesses to a woman trying to sit on her front porch.
Now, it looks like that's leading into a story of crime in Little Rock, and I'll just talk over this for the time being before we get back to Haley's blog. So the timestamp on this story is September 20th. You can tell whenever I click over the story itself, this is a 5-minute piece looking in detail about many of the challenges that people in Little Rock face when it comes to gunfire and some of the deadliest statistics, as you can see here, for the past decade. Now let's go back to the blog itself. So that was a separate link to KARK, then all the way back up to the top. The graphics that she included again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of those are made available, as Haley correctly notes, through state public records. When you scroll through her website, this is what it looks like from 9 all the way down to 1. Does this look like a professional news blog? Yes. Does it read like a professional news blog? When everyone's are edited properly, yes. And as I indicated with many of these, if I'm giving you some advice on spelling, grammar, or syntax, it's nothing personal. You just want to make sure that everything is as pristine as possible from an editing perspective. So we are going to go from Haley's. Let me check Kaylee's really quick, because Haley is, I think, on. I will bypass hers and go directly to Gwen, who is on Public Records Local. And after Gwen, I am checking Jonathan's, and I believe that's it for today. I'm not going through everyone's. So this is what Gwen's website looks like up until assignment 8, Public Records Local. Notice that she and Haley are looking at Public Records Local from unique standpoints. And of course, we were looking before at what Taylor had done in Haley's case, and of course, in one of Haley's projects. You'll recall from examining it a moment ago, her assignment 8 is very similar to what Gwen has when it comes to the sex offender registry. Now, her lead sentence, many people in the United States do not understand the importance of public records, and that's true. And then she transitions into the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act with a link to the Attorney General's office, all of the data that would be available, including the Freedom of Information Act at a glance, and we'll be talking about that during the spring semester for one of the briefs that will be upcoming in Media Law and Ethics. Tuesday, Thursday, 11 o'clock, Overstreet, 304. Now we transition back into what the Freedom of Information Act does, making state public records available to anyone who asks for them. Magnolia Reporter with a link gives access to public records with a link, as we saw earlier when we were looking at bankruptcies with Alexis. Columbia County jail bookings, real estate transactions, bankruptcies, and those all have links. The Columbia County Sex Offender Registry, that is going to lead to the Sheriff's Office, as we saw earlier with Haley. The registry links or lists sex offenders, and this is the sex offender graphic, and that is very similar to what Haley has, but it's really important to understand that these individuals are in the community. These records provide the public access to the names of these offenders, their risk levels, and their addresses. Last sentence, quote, "The public has a right to know where these offenders live and who they are for their own safety." The final paragraph, I should say, quote, "The sex offender registry is a perfect example of why public records are essential. Without it, citizens would be unaware of dangerous neighbors or strangers they interact with. Columbia County residents should feel safe knowing they have access to this information, and that Magnolia Reporter and the Columbia County Sheriff's Office make it readily available." So she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, short, sweet, to the point, easily understandable. I am calling this basically a peach color on my computer, but she's got, as many of you will provide, numerous links. Only a couple of them I provided here, but there's another one of the links to the real estate transactions. So whenever we were talking with Alexis earlier, she went to bankruptcies, but if you wanted to look at real estate transactions, that would be okay too, because even for a small house, as you can see, a 1,700 square foot house on Cherokee Drive in Magnolia, $160,000. So any of this is going to really be quite expensive. $480,000, $415,000, $25,000 buying the property. So real estate transactions on the Magnolia Reporter website are really important. And then we'll scroll back up to Gwen's name, the international style when you click on it. And this is from 8 all the way down. Notice there is some similarity with what Seth had for Campus Harder feature news, all the way down to defining news at number 1. Always consider when you're going through this, not only the writing, the reporting, the editing, but the style that you have for the website. Our final website of the day and I'm not including everyone's because a couple of you need to make up projects. This is what Jonathan's website looks like, and he is catching up. Hometown feature news. Click on read more. Notice that slight pixelation when this graphic is in the format. That looks like a Chevy Chevelle SS or a Camaro SS Super Sport. Many events are taking place for this year's October 2nd Thursday market in the Magnolia Square. The cruise night will be hosted and sponsored by Rods and Ribeyes from 4 to 7 in the Square Park. And the final sentence quote, multiple food vendors like Creighton's Barbecue and others will be serving in the Square Park before and during the cruise night itself. Not only will there be the cruise night, but there's a pumpkin decoration contest, judging for the contest, and then the competition final sentence will be held for age groups of 5 and under, 6 to 10 years old, and 11 and up. Clicking on Jonathan's name, he's got feature, and then down to Hometown Hard News, the Twitter links and the news leads, breaking news, and defining news. And that's what his website looks like. So before we conclude the proceedings for the day, keep in mind that when you are on Blackboard for this course, I'm vamping for time because I have to check Blackboard, the Blackboard link. If you ever want to join us live between now and the end of the semester, 2:10 to 3:30, Tuesday, Thursday. I know many of you have to work. It's not a requirement for you to be here live. But when you go to the website, here is what you'll see when you're at Blackboard. And I'm indicating this at the end of class because we got an email from the folks in computer services indicating that some students were having a problem accessing the Blackboard app. But when you're at Ultra, this is what you see when you want to join a class. Whenever I join the class live in the professor's mode, this is what I see. I can join the class just like this. However, keep in mind, and I've shown this repeatedly, when you're at Ultra, when you're at Tools, at Ultra, you can go to the menu, the 3 vertical white bars, go to Recordings, and you'll see the most recent sessions. Now, you don't see them all, but if I wanted to go to Recordings in a range, and I just went back to, let's say, August 1st, then just about everything that we've done so far is going to wind up on the screen. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it goes 10 a page, and then you've got 11. Now keep in mind that doesn't include the 2 Blackboard Collaborate sessions with the purple icon that we did earlier in the semester. So today would be video L. They're alphabetized, so when you get the downloaded version on my website, if that's where you go, everything is chronological, like I showed you at the beginning of class. When we return on Tuesday of next week, assignment 10, which is listing posts, is going to be due. I intentionally took a lot of time at the outset to show you the examples from 2020 and 2018. Listing post assignments won't always look the same, but I think it's imperative that you watch the videos, take a look at previous examples from other years, and then what your classmates are doing in 2021. They're always going to be works in progress. You're going to look at your work and sometimes cringe thinking it needs an edit. But that is something that's very important in anything that you do as someone who is going to be writing for the media. Editing is an essential part of that, and so is refreshing your copy. So whenever you go back and look at something, don't look at it from a negative perspective. Think I can go back in and clean that up from a standpoint of style, looking at the blog on your phone or on your computer, making sure that you've got a nice, crisp writing style, and always going back and looking at your classmates. How can I make my writing style cleaner? How can I make it more understandable to an audience? And some of the upcoming projects, when we're looking at civics, which is the study of government, or numeracy, taking numbers and trying to put them into a cohesive package that a layperson can understand. Those are important elements of being a media professional. So between now and Thanksgiving break, we'll be well on our way to 20 different assignments. Those of you who either, one, need to get caught up, do so as soon as possible, or number two, making sure that I have an updated URL. That's really important because at some point between now and the end of the semester, I will send out by tweet that link with all of your names on them. And I want to make sure that the rising tide lifts all boats, because watching these videos, taking a look at all of these websites is going to help you immeasurably in your long-term goal of being a quality media researcher and writer. Make sure that you watch these videos, and by the time that we get through the end of the semester, looking at your particular websites, I think you're going to be quite pleased with the quality of your work. But always remember, go back and edit. It is extremely essential to your long-term success. We will continue on Tuesday with assignment 10, listening posts. As for MM 2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today.